Hey, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Geeks from the Multiverse podcast. This week's episode is an AI versus Hollywood, and we're stepping into one of the most difficult genres in filmmaking, the crime thriller. Hollywood has given us countless detectives, serial killers, and murder mysteries over the years. Some became legendary, while others were forgotten the moment the credits rolled. Can AI create a crime thriller that captures the tension of Seven, the obsession of Zodiac, and the atmosphere of True Detective while still feeling like its own movie? We're going to find out. This is Missing, and welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey, everybody, welcome again to Geeks from the Multiverse podcast. I am your host, Grumpy Beard, and with me, as always, is
Captain Mustache. How's everyone doing? And first of all, why did you have to be so slow when you did that? I mean,
I
you're
don't know.
your host, Grumpy Beard. And then you should have said, yes, my other host, your good-looking host. No, I'm joking. Anyways,
Wow.
he's like, shut the fuck up, man. I mean, John. I mean, Matt. Wait, which one are we? Who are we, Matt? I don't know. Do you know? Because I don't. Um, so yes, this whole AI versus Hollywood, right? If you haven't really been catching up with all this stuff, this is where we've gone to AI and we said, hey, you know what? Create us a script, create us a genre, give us a movie. Could be a video game, could be a TV show, could be basically whatever we decide, and we're going to see how well AI basically does the thing that we ask it to do. And so this case, right, we're going to be doing this missing. Well, the title is Missing, right? That's all we're going to tell you right now. But it's
Missing ...
And then, it's like a true crime. Think of it like a true crime, little horror, a little this and that. So it kind of like dives into a different realm of things. Because again, we've talked about a Western, we've talked about sci-fi, we've talked about a freaking video game. We've gone everywhere. Hell, we did a rap parody.
Did. And I mean, we're trying to branch out from what like our normal type of, I guess, genres would be. I mean, we've done the sci-fi thing, and sure, we could do superheroes, which we kind of did with Echoverse. It was both sci-fi, superhero type of genre, but we're trying to branch out. I mean, we just did a Western. That was A Grave at Sundown.
which I still think it could be I really think if they did it right, it could be a really great movie.
Could be a really
overall.
great movie.
But this one, I mean, I will admit, I did kind of look at it before, and I was like, I said I could see this. I could see this kind of doing well, but I guess we'll see again because we have to talk about our casting choices and things like that. But we'll see because, like I said, the other ones that we've done so far, I mean, I'll admit that yes, I'm not trying to be biased because it is the podcast, but I think a lot of these ideas, right? I mean, hell, like I said, Matt literally created a book based off of the AI versus Hollywood episode. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind. He made a book off of literally an idea from AI. So that if that tells you anything, okay. So like that's what we're saying is like some of these ideas, yes, we could see it actually turning into something. Where some of these other ones, I'm like, I'm not saying they can't.
Maybe. I mean,
but it just-
Earthworm Jim would be tough.
well, again, we've talked about like the directors and we've talked about all these
Yeah.
other things, but it really depends on how well they actually do it. That's the problem. So
Bioforge, you would. I mean, that was that was our very first one.
that
and
one's
you would have to throw Game of Thrones money at it.
yeah. I mean, well, that one definitely could be. That one should just honestly be a TV show.
Well, that's what we did. I mean, it
Yeah,
was a
it was-
TV show,
that's
but
what
you
I
would
said.
have to throw money at it if you gave it like NBC money.
Yeah,
No,
you're not
it's
do
gonna
shit.
flop on its face. Like
Yeah.
the third episode will be canceled.
Right. It'll be like what's that show? Firefly? No, no.
It'd be like Firefly. It'd be like Falling Skies. I
It'd
mean,
be like all these things, and
Yeah.
then when you look at Echoverse, right? I mean, the fact that you could technically do. I feel like you should do a show first, and then maybe make a movie out of it, depending on how well you do with it. That's just me, because like you can build upon that. That's a
Right.
buildable idea.
yeah,
Some
it's
of these
an
other ones-
idea. I mean, like I said, Earthworm Jim would be tough. I think Jacuzzi Time Makuzi, depending on like how you do it and how the jokes are done, that could either flop or do really well.
Well, right, and I mean, I know we're going to be talking about more about this, but Let's go right into our CTAs like we normally do. So, of course, our good old call to actions here. So, yes, we're going to talk about our fist bump that we always do, our follow, interact, subscribe, tell your friends. And Matt's like, about fucking time you remember all this shit, because half the time you couldn't remember it fucking 2 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? Leave me alone, man. I just can't remember every goddamn thing on the planet. No, I'm joking. But yes, so, follow, interact, subscribe, tell your friends, all that fun stuff. Go on our website, check out our, content hubs, like, the episodes that we have on there that, again, that always rotate every week, right? And so you have also the Evolve, page as well, which also has all of our Evolve episodes. We have our merch. We have a freaking resource vault for anybody who wants to look and see if there's any other resources that maybe, maybe we have put up there. I mean, I know Matt's done a really good job of making sure all the resources that we have are in there. And then again, so, check us out on Spotify, go to YouTube. I mean, we're always on our, we're always trying to look around to see if like anyone comments and things like that. But again, we can't do that alone. We have to, I have to keep spreading the word. And Matt's like, yeah, you're doing a great job, bud. And I go, thanks, man. Because all I can do is honestly just spread the word myself. But the other thing is just you guys need to, help us out. We're growing. I know, because Matt told me about the analytics, and I'm like, all right. I said, well, hopefully you guys can keep this up, and we'll keep this going.
Yeah.
Hopefully many more years to come. But yes, thanks everybody for listening. And, we're going to go into some small talk because we have some things we want to discuss.
Yeah,
about.
I mean, we kind of already discussed it a little bit,
but we didn't really.
I mean, the main question for this, I mean, because we're doing AI versus Hollywood, and this is our number 6, John.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. Well, hold on, man. Let's put this into perspective. Ready? Just so everyone is clear, we've been doing this almost 4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
4 freaking years. Okay, and it still surprises me because I still remember the 20th episode when we joked. And we said to ourselves, hey, man, you ready to keep doing this? And you're like, well, I guess we're going to keep meeting up every week because we're going to continue to do this. I mean, it's crazy to see that we've now, we had this idea and then we're six. And I mean, we're going to have hopefully many more to come up with. But yeah.
And this is episode 175.
Jesus, man. Jeez, man. I didn't realize that.
But anyways, the question that I have is, out of the ones that we've done, is there an AI versus Hollywood that we've done that you would now think would not be successful? And I'll list them off right now because people may not know, like, oh, you've done 6 of them? Yes. So we have Bioforge, which is our sci-fi alien type TV show. Echoverse, which is another sci-fi movie, but it's also superhero related. Earthworm Jim, which is a video game adaptation. Jacuzzi Time Macuzzi, which is a satire parody, like hip-hop rap, gangster rap type thing. A Grave at Sundown, which is our Western. And now we have Missing, which is our newest crime drama / thriller that we're doing.
So Matt wanted me to say Echo. No, I'm joking. No. Matt said if I said he said if I said Echoverse, he said he'd probably have to kill me. And I said, okay, fine. I guess I won't do that. But no, I would say the 2 that I know you're supposed to pick one, but I think it's a toss up because it's between Bioforge and Earthworm Jim. Because I think we both can agree that, with Bioforge, like you just said in the beginning there, like you have to throw money at it, like big money at it in order for it to actually succeed. Because if not, I mean, it's going to flop.
I mean, it's CGI, so you have to have money to do it. And I kind of agree, but I mean, I would add in Jacuzzi Time Macuzzi because that could also flop.
I mean, to a degree, but I feel like that one would be hilarious, though.
It could be hilarious, but it also could end up in the pit of Amazon Prime despair, or like right next to superhero movie.
I mean,
and like whatever the Meet the Spartans is, like the 300 parody that they did. Like,
no, I'm not saying it would. Look,
it'll sit somewhere right in the middle of that.
I'm not saying it wouldn't, but at the same time, I still think Jacuzzi Time Macuzzi would do probably a little bit better than even Bioforge. Or
I think only because it has Ice Cube, Snoop, and Dre in it.
Who wouldn't want to have? I mean, dude, all we got to do is hit them up one of these days and be like, "Yo, you want to get on this movie called Jacuzzi Time Macuzzi?" And they're like, "Hell yeah, brother, let's go." I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to watch? I'd watch the shit out of that movie. I'd be like, "Yeah, guess what? Guess who made it? Oh wait, us."
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying. I think Bioforge and Earthworm Jim are probably the 2 that I would say that it would really depend. I mean, and the reason why I'd also say Earthworm Jim, because I know we kind of somewhat talked about it, is that Yeah, it really depends on who you have as a director. Again, you also need to have a good budget. I mean, a
Again,
lot of
it's
these things you need to have,
CGI heavy.
right. A lot of these are definitely, I would say, besides probably A Grave at Sundown. I mean, Jacuzzi Tamakuzi, I guess you would have some CGI, of course, in there as well. But like, I mean, Echoverse is definitely one you definitely need to have some CGI on that motherfucker. But
Right.
you know, definitely, I would say the least amount of CGI is definitely going to be A Grave at Sundown. Like that one
And
should be practical.
and this one, I mean, Missing is probably
yeah.
not going to have as much.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like the top four that we mentioned. I mean, you know, if you didn't have the right budget, you didn't have the right director with the vision, you know, hopefully, like the people that we chose for those movies and everything, like that would hopefully work out or get somebody close to it. You know, like that would be the thing. Is like I would say the two biggest things is definitely the director and the budget. Because if you don't have that, I mean, we already gave it the script. We could easily make the script. We have no problem doing that.
Right.
You know, but it's really the director in the budget, because that's how these Earthworm Jim, especially in Bioforge, like I would say with Earthworm Jim, the only biggest thing is you're going to need somebody that knows how to, well, hopefully some of the original people that were doing like the animation, you know, things for that too, because you wouldn't want to have somebody new. I feel like you'd want to have somebody kind of older that knew about like Earthworm Jim and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, what do you? I mean, I know you said Jacuzzi Tamakuzi, but I want to know a little bit more. Like what about it exactly? You would think why it wouldn't be so well.
Jacuzzi Tamakuzi in general?
Yeah, like you said, because
Well, like I said, I mean, I think I already said it. It's one of those things like if the jokes don't land quite the way that we would be interpreting the jokes landing,
yeah,
if it's not done, you know, I'm talking like at least script and the cinematography. Like if everything is done right, I think it would be successful. I mean, it wouldn't be like 300 million or 400,
No.
you know, it wouldn't be anything like that. But I think,
I mean, I think it still would get a good box office, just maybe not as like that. You're saying the 500 million mark.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think humor like that is subjective. I think there's enough people that are in that hip hop frame of mind that would think it would be funny, but like, I don't know. It's just to me like the jokes really have to hit as being something that's funny and not just, you know,
Yeah.
it walks that, you know, that edge of being funny but being offensive at the same time.
I mean, I get it, but I think where if you think about it now, man, I mean, how many movies like for example, like Spaceballs 2, even though they we're talking a massive amount of years difference now. I mean, they're doing that. I mean, they're bringing it back. They're doing
Right,
all
but
this
there's
stuff,
also,
but it's-
I mean, there is also a Spaceballs.
no, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, but again, you're taking a movie that was made so long ago, and now you're making a second one, and how is that still going to feel? Hopefully, it's still the same. Maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't feel the same as it would be. I'm just saying, with this one, you already know the people. You already know kind of the idea behind it. It's just a matter of, you know, whether or not, like you said, like if the jokes make sense, if they can deliver it the
Yeah.
right way, and this and that. And I get that. And how dare you put that in the that beer of yours? I thought you
I
liked
put it on the cover. It's on the top.
Oh, so you're gonna have flaters? Is what you're saying?
Sure.
Okay.
Anyways, we should get going into our AI versus Hollywood. So here we go.
Hollywood's broken, the scripts are looking dead. Can't follow the blueprint with DI rules, so we fired up the circuits, let AI take control. In case you didn't know, this is AI versus Hollywood.
Yeah.
I know that's what it needs, like right at the end. Yeah. Yeah. It needs one of those, right at the end, dude.
Right. So every time Matt and I hear that, it's just we always go like we want to do it. We really want to do it, but then we go, "Ah," you know, and I'd be like, oh no, well, let's
Yeah.
not record that part.
No. So we have our AI versus Hollywood movie called Missing. This is a crime thriller, psychological thriller, And before I get into Act 1, I need to tell you what this movie is, the basic plot, what it's about, right? So, our very basic description, this probably would be something you would read maybe on the back of a DVD. If people still buy, do people still buy DVDs? I don't know.
I mean, or maybe you go on Amazon Prime and you look at the description of the movie.
Right, yeah. So this would be that description. This is a burned out Louisiana homicide detective haunted by an unsolved child murder spree from the late 1980s discovers evidence that the killer never stopped. As he uncovers a 40-year trail of victims stretching across multiple states, the investigation reignites an obsession that destroyed his family, consumed his career, and may ultimately destroy what remains of his soul.
Damn.
Right?
And you go, huh?
What?
That's pretty deep.
It is pretty deep. I mean, that's just what they call a log line. That's the basic description. So our plot for this movie follows Detective Jack Lawton. He is a legendary but broken Louisiana homicide detective whose life has been consumed by a series of unsolved child murders that terrorized the state in the late 1980s. When a newly murdered child bears similarities to the long dormant case, Jack becomes convinced the killer has returned. Despite skepticism from his department, he begins uncovering evidence linking decades of disappearances and murders across the southern United States. As the investigation expands, Jack's obsession intensifies, straining his already fractured relationships and pushing him towards self-destruction. When the case becomes personal and a member of his own family becomes a victim, Jack abandons caution and pursues the killer with reckless determination. The hunt culminates in a confrontation that leaves the killer dead and Jack forever changed. In the aftermath, Jack is forced to confront a terrifying question. If the obsession that defined his life is finally over, or does he have any reason to keep living?
I don't even know what to say, man. Like, that's just like, goddamn. Like, and that's just not, that's like just a simple plot of the movie. That's not even the explanation of what that
Right, that's not even going. I mean, we have it broken down into 4 different acts.
That's generally how I feel like a lot of these have been.
So I mean, I do want to break down the plot before I just go ahead right in. I feel like that's deep enough where we might have to break that down a little bit.
Just a smidge.
Because we have this detective, right? I mean, he's probably been a homicide detective. I don't know, maybe in the 80s, maybe he wasn't a detective then.
I mean, we'll call it maybe he was a beat cop or something like that.
Yeah, but he's been involved with police work in the department for quite a long time.
So actually, before we go on, like, is it based in the 80s?
The movie is set in the present time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I just wanted to make sure because I feel like, when you're talking about like the late 80s, I was like, okay, maybe it was just like, he's a detective at that time and maybe this happened like, a decade ago or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to make sure.
No, it's set in modern present time. But he's been with the department and he's been involved in these investigations since the late 80s, if that makes more sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, so this guy, he'll probably be in his like late 50s, I'm guessing, right? Or maybe early 60s if I'm taking a guess here. But yeah.
Yeah. So he's the type of cop, obviously, that he's really great at his job. However, the job has consumed his entire life, leaving his family just alone, separate. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's one of these very. I mean, you can tell just by that basic plot of the movie that this movie is a very gritty looking movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, hell, once we show you the photo of like the actual title and everything, like you'll see and you'll go, okay, I see why now. I see why this makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So Act 1, the film opens on a humid summer night.
Before you go any further, it feels like it's a fucking humid summer night here.
It definitely feels, but it's not in rural Louisiana.
Well, goddamn.
So, like I said before, the film opens on a humid summer night in rural Louisiana where deputies and crime scene investigators have gathered around the body of a murdered man lying beside a drainage ditch. The scene feels routine, almost mundane, with younger detectives debating theories and patrol officers casually talking nearby. Some believe it was a robbery, others think it was a drug deal that went bad, but the atmosphere changes completely when Detective Jack Lawson arrives on the scene.
Oh boy. Well, look at this. And actually, I think we're going to talk
Hey,
about
look at
his
this.
age.
You
What
were
do you know?
exactly right with the 55. So Jack is 55 years old. He looks every bit of it. His face is weathered, his shirt is wrinkled. There is a permanent exhaustion behind his eyes that suggests years of poor sleep and too much whiskey.
There you go.
There you
Whiskey.
go.
All you need to know is whiskey.
The young officers respect him, but there's also something sad about the way they look at him because they know the stories. To them, Jack is a legend, but he's also a reminder of what the job can do to a person. So, without saying much, Jack studies the scene. He notices the position of the body, the drag marks, the dirt, the way the victim's wallet is left untouched. Only after a few minutes, he calmly explains that the victim knew his killers, that they were 2 suspects instead of 1, and that they fled in a truck parked further down the road. Nobody asks him how he knows because they've all seen him do this too many times before. Jack simply sees things that other people miss. So obviously, like I said, he's obviously a great detective.
Well, when you think about your age, for example, right? So we're talking, so late 80s, right? And so he's 55 now, right? So let's say he's been a cop this entire time. Okay, he's had no breaks, no nothing. I mean, after a while, I feel like you kind of it's almost like a routine. You almost like you already know what's going to come. And you're already seeing like 5 steps ahead because you already have dealt with this, probably many, many of times.
Countless times. Yeah.
Right.
So in his case, you quickly understand and you learn that Jack is brilliant at his job. I think him like just rolling up to the scene and being like, "Oh yeah, there was 2 suspects. They went in a truck. It was parked up there," and they're all just like,
Well, son of a bitch.
"Okay," you know. He's great at being a detective. He knows what he sees when he gets onto the scene. Um, but he's miserable everywhere else.
Yeah.
He returns home to a cluttered house that barely feels lived in. He spends all of his evenings drinking whiskey while an old television plays in the background. There are framed family photos sitting on shelves, but they're covered in dust and they feel more like they're artifacts from another life than reminders of happier times. His marriage ended years ago. His daughter rarely returns his phone calls.
It's a depressing scene.
Uh,
That's all I can see.
It's really just that traumatic, experience of his life, just dedicating his life to 100% police work.
Well, and so let's keep this in mind too. And so when you're talking about the jobs that you want to take, right? So when you talk about, let's say, law enforcement or, let's say EMS or firefighting or being in the military or being like any kinds of these jobs, depending on what it is. I mean, this takes a real toll. I mean, the fact that it's showing you, I guess, in a different light. I mean, unfortunately, I hate saying it. How many movies do we see that this has happened? Right. And especially like you see a cop and they come home and they're divorced or, maybe their wife's passed on and maybe they have a kid or two, but now nobody's, reaching out to them anymore. And they're kind of a lone wolf, and there's nobody close to them to keep them in line.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a reality of the situation because you look at real everyday cops. This happens.
oh no, that's what I mean. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like Blue Bloods.
Well, I mean,
You
it
have
does-
a family of it, but yeah,
it does happen in that show, just not to like obviously the main,
this extent, yeah.
not the main family, but there are other officers that have gotten in trouble and have done stuff
Yeah.
and take things like too serious. But anyways, so we see Jack and we see how he lives at his house. It's probably one of those bleak kind of like looking how
yeah.
like it's not a great looking place. Probably was at one point.
When his wife was around.
But now it's a place where he sleeps and drinks and goes back to work. Like
Right,
it's just
it's a dumping ground, basically.
so as Jack moves through his daily routine, the audience begins noticing missing child posters scattered throughout the community. They hang them on billboards, gas station windows, telephone poles. but nobody pays attention to them because they've become part of everyday life. The posters are almost treated like background noise, another unfortunate reality that people have learned to live with. Everything changes, though, when a child's body is discovered.
Mm.
And then here's what starts the obsession.
Oh, God.
The murder immediately shocks the community, sends investigators scrambling for answers, but Jack's reaction is different from everybody else's. Something about the scene feels familiar to him. Small details catch his attention, trigger memories that he spent decades trying to bury. As he stands over the body, the audience is taken back to 1987 when a young patrol officer named Jack Lawton witnessed the beginning of one of Louisiana's most horrifying unsolved cases. Over the course of 3 years, children disappeared across the state. Some bodies were recovered, while others were never found at all. Search parties combed swamps and forests. Frightened parents kept their children indoors. Entire communities lived in fear of a killer who seemed to vanish into thin air. Then, almost as sudden as it began, the murder stopped. No suspect was ever identified, no arrests were made, and eventually the rest of the world moved on. Jack never did. So, standing over this new victim, he becomes convinced that the nightmare he has carried for 40 years might have finally returned.
Oh, I don't even know what to say, Matt. That's still, I mean, that's a good first kind of like opening of the movie. You know, kind of, I mean, it's probably maybe like opening, maybe, you know, it could be like 30 minutes in ish, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of see him. I mean, he starts, and the movie immediately starts on a case, on a scene, like a scene where they found a murdered man. So immediately starts there, you know, and you see the detectives and you see like, the younger detectives and the patrol officers, you see the scene, and then Jack, pulls in and he does his thing and he probably just says what he says. And then he's like, see ya back at the station.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and then, it does follow him back home where we see what he's living like, which isn't really living. It's just existing. Right. But then as he's going on calls and doing some other stuff, I mean, I could see like this whole thing where he's moving through his daily routine, going into the station, maybe patrolling around with a partner, or maybe he's by himself. I have no idea. But it's you see him like driving maybe down the street and there's, missing child posters like splattered everywhere, like it says. And then he gets that call where there's a child's body that was found, and that changes the whole tone of the movie. If it wasn't dark enough to start with, this is where the tone gets darker, and he begins that obsession, right?
well, and then I guess the question is like, should we really immediately trust, Detective Jack Lawton, at first?
I don't. I mean, it's one of those weird fine lines where I don't know. You really don't know if he's like a good guy, or if he's just burnt out, like a burnt out cop.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it like that, so like, I'm not saying he's not a good guy, right? But like, if you're looking at it in this case, you're thinking to yourself, like, even as a burnt out, like in any job, as we both know, are you really that effective? Are you really that effective in the way you want to, treat a case? Or, how are you going to be any different, from one guy versus the other? Like maybe he misses things that he should have already known or something like that. Like we don't know that answer quite yet because again, this is still the first act. But
right. I mean, I think he's naturally just good at being a detective because he's been doing it for so long. But I think when you first see him roll up on that scene, there's not like that same drive that he probably had, I don't know, 20, 30 years before,
right,
where he was going to scenes looking to solve the case. Like this for me, when I read that part of it, I really see him just walking up into that scene and basically just being like, yeah, 2 people killed him. They went that way. Like they went in a truck and that was parked. Like he's just explaining to them like what his gut is telling them by observing.
Right. The park I was about to say the park patterns. No, the the markings on the ground, like seeing that there's probably some skid marks somewhere or something
Yeah,
like
he's
that. Yeah.
he's analyzing the scene and he's basically saying like this is probably what happened because most likely.
I mean, not saying that a grown man can't carry another grown, dead man, I guess, but yeah, you'd probably want to have another person to have in case.
It's just there's a lack of that emotional connection that you would think like a detective would want to like, yeah, we need to get this processed and get it out of here. Like, let's go. There's just none of that. It's just him
going through the motion. Yeah.
going through the motions and then moving on.
Now, this next one, real quick, is like, is Jack really a hero or a cautionary tale? I mean, again, I would still say it's too early. I mean, if it since we already kind of read the plot, I mean, maybe he's a little bit of both. Maybe he does have that heroic kind of, status about him in some ways, but like, yeah, it is a cautionary tale because, I feel like this is a lot to do with, especially the jobs that you work in, but like, I know, and especially like law enforcement, you can't tell me that there isn't going to be a case that isn't going to piss you off, or there isn't going to be one that, that got away, or, you find the killer and you want to smack the shit out of him, because, whatever the case is. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't, I mean, how many cop shows have you watched, or how many things that you've seen? Like, there's always that one guy's like, if I find that motherfucker, and then he like, and I'm not saying that they don't, and they do. And then all of a sudden they're like, now they want to beat the shit out of him, or now they want to do something about it. So like, with his case, with the cautionary tale, I mean, I think that it's like a reminder of, sometimes the work that you do, you're going to have consequences, whether they're good, bad, whatever. But like, there's always going to be something that is going to, unfortunately, drive you to a point where, is this really going to be still worth my time? Still worth my purpose of
Right.
doing this? So that's just me. I mean, maybe you have a different take on it, but I just feel like right now we don't really know, but I see that there's going to be probably both.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really don't learn much about Jack from him arriving to that crime scene, other than that he's probably like a pretty decent detective. Like, he's obviously really really good at his job, and there is a dedication to it, but it's almost to the point of where he's already accepting the negative outcome of every
Right.
case. He's not looking at
the bright, yeah,
the bright side of it or trying to save people. He already understands, like, look, this guy was killed. Who cares? Like, he's already dead. Let's just solve the thing, arrest the stupid assholes that did it, and move on. Like,
right.
that's kind of his attitude. Not really like focused on like, oh my God, this guy is dead now because two people were selfish. Like, he's not focused on that aspect of it.
Well, unfortunately,
It's just that negative aspect of it where, like, the dude's dead. Like, let's just solve the thing and move on. Like, there's other cases.
but unfortunately, that's also part of the job. I mean, you're talking about being numb. I mean, that's where he's at. He's numb. He's
Right.
entirely numb.
Yes.
Doesn't give a shit about anything else. I mean, and kind of going into this next one.
And
you know,
the other aspect is his drinking.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because if the dude's always drinking whiskey, then he's going at some level to these scenes. You'll have to imagine, like, there is some level of maybe drunkenness that he's going into
Yeah.
these scenes, or maybe not being drunk, but severely hungover.
Well, hold on. I'm going to say it. Okay, if we're talking about this particular cop in general, don't be surprised if this man has a flask.
I would not be surprised at all.
Don't be surprised if he carries it with him and then just does his thing and then he walks off and then he takes another swig and gets in the car or does whatever. I'm just saying, like, in this case, I see that happening. And then, kind of moving on here, but like, it's a good question. This one's a hard one. Like, how many detectives, are destroyed by one case? Like, I mean, I will say this. I think as a whole, I mean, yeah, I think there is always going to be, and then unfortunately,
I think
for Jack,
it's
one
tough.
case.
I think it is a tougher scenario if we're talking just about murdered people in general. Like, I think he probably would be on a level that's okay, but I think when we're talking about a 40-year history of murdered children who are missing, that to me would take a toll on
Oh, absolutely.
anybody.
I mean, we're talking a guy who's probably seen countless of deaths, countless of, probably missing, individuals, whether they're children or adults or whatever. And, and that kind of goes into, this next one, but like, when do we, when do we start to normalize this? Like, this whole, like, in the scene or like what you were describing about the missing posters in the background, how is it that now it's become this normalized thing? Because now we're thinking to ourselves like, oh, is this just okay? Well, my kid got kidnapped. Now I guess there's nothing else I can do about it. Uh, What? Like, no. I mean, I guess if there, I mean, depending on which way you look at this, I mean, I have, this one thing I can think of, but for example, like, I know in the military, like they had this little court case or this like missing people in certain areas in Texas. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, you know, and it's sad because all these soldiers were missing, and then finally, like something was being done about. But we're talking like it was like 5, almost 10 people that were missing, and then we've normalized that, and it's fine. But
Yeah.
like now we're talking about this, and God knows how many fucking missing posters are in the background, and now we're just like, oh fuck it, I guess my kid's missing. I guess we'll just move on. I guess we'll have another one. I didn't realize that was fucking normal. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, is
Well,
that really-
our kid just went missing. Let's just have another one. We'll just,
Just have
we'll
another
just
kid. Who
replace the little fucker. Who cares?
But seriously, how is that normal? I mean, I feel like if my son Wyatt was missing, I'd be like, what the fuck, man? I'd be fucking moving goddamn mountains for this shit.
I don't think that like the community itself doesn't care. I mean, obviously, like the parents are probably beyond the point of being traumatized, but I think it's one of those things where the community just has seen it over and over and over and over, where when a child gets missing, it's like, yeah, that's no surprise. It happens in this state, like all
Well, I mean,
it sucks for everybody involved. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm saying when you see another poster going up, it's like, well, fuck, another kid missing? What the hell?
well, I mean, no offense, it doesn't help that you're in Louisiana and there's a bunch of fucking swamps around either. So just
Well, yeah,
saying, I'm just throwing it out there.
Hey.
That does not help.
All right, so Act 2.
Yes, good old Act 2. Let me pull this bad boy up real quick. All right, so the hunt. Right. So in the in the days following the child's murder, right, Jack quietly begins reopening files that haven't been touched in decades. Okay. He spends hours in evidence storage, digging through dusty boxes and yellow reports from the late 1980s. The more he reads, the more he basically convinces himself, or he becomes that he isn't a copycat or a coincidence. Right. So some small details from the new crime scene match details that were never made public during the original investigation. To everyone else, the similarities are insignificant. To Jack, they are impossible to ignore. His peers are skeptical. The original case was one of the most expensive and exhaustive investigations in Louisiana history. Well, goddamn. And it ended with nothing. Well, that sucks too. They believe Jack is also allowing old trauma to cloud his judgment and see this new case as an isolated tragedy. Even his partner, Detective Ethan Cole, initially struggles to believe him. Ethan respects Jack's reputation and knows he's one of the best detectives he's ever worked with. But he also sees an aging man who never truly escaped the ghost of his past. Despite the pushback, Jack keeps digging. Right, he begins contacting retired investigators, requesting old case files from neighboring states. What starts as a hunch slowly turns into something terrifying. Missing children in Arkansas share similarities with the victims in Louisiana as well. Unidentified remains discovered in Mississippi, interesting, seem to fit the timeline of disappearances from decades earlier. Cases in Texas, Tennessee, and Alabama suddenly begin lining up in ways nobody had ever considered.
See, this is some bullshit.
I mean, that's pretty. I'm just
I
saying.
mean, we have this detective, like, we've already know that he is good at his job, right? Like, we're saying, like, we've already seen it in the movie where he already knows what he's looking for in certain cases. It's by observation, it's by years of experience. And we have this guy who's like, wait, I think this might be connected. to this whole entire other case. And it's not like it was like some random case from 1987. No, this was, like you said, it was one of the, what did you say? It was one of the longest and most exhaustive
cases ever.
investigations in Louisiana history. It was a big deal.
No. It was a big fucking deal.
And his superiors are basically like, "Yo, Jack, that's your trauma speaking. Like,
shut the fuck up.
Just go back to your fucking whiskey and
shut the fuck up.
Jacking off and do whatever you're doing, dude."
No, but I agree with you. I mean, the fact that nobody was really taking this seriously, and then this guy literally goes above and beyond and looks at other cases literally in the surrounding states around this area.
And this just this whole Act 2, I mean, you're not even done with Act 2 yet, but this whole beginning part of Act 2 is showing exactly why his family left him, why he's living in such a crappy looking place, because it's this obsession. Like when he catches a case, his brain just goes all in.
Well, and so this is the hard part, man, is like, and this is why I've said this too, is that when you think about, even in our line of work, all right, and so it's hard when you have to let something happen because there's nothing you can physically do about it in that time frame. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had to, sorry, I guess I can't find you, a place to stay today. You're going to have to go sleep on the street. And now knowing that, and then I have to go home and then I have to go take care of my family. And then, still in the back of my mind thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do about this? I know it's a little different, but I'm just saying it's that same feeling of what the fuck can I do? Like how?
Right.
Can
well,
I
it is that.
Out?
I mean, it's not quite the same, but it is the same in ways. It's like, yeah, I mean, we have to sometimes tell people like, I'm sorry, but your housing or your, whatever fell through. So we have no choice but to just discharge you back home.
Right.
And their back home might be, Pulaski Park or something.
Or some fucking cardboard box on the side of the road. I mean,
right. And we know for a fact that like if they didn't go to some type of sober housing or they didn't get somewhere placed that was going to help them, they will be 100% using as soon as they walk out that front door.
And not even that, they'll probably sure right the fuck back up because that's how the circle is. I mean, but in this case, I mean, we're talking decades of shit where
1987 was this case.
Right.
1987.
So we're talking decades of shit going on right now. And this guy now has to, because he knows that he was a part of this a long time ago.
Right.
And
as a patrol officer, yeah.
Right. And so now you're talking from that, and now he's doing it as a detective so many years later, and now having to realize, like, okay, well, in Louisiana, in Arkansas, in Mississippi, in Tennessee, in Alabama, like all these other places, and you're like, you fuckheads didn't want to fucking look at all of this. You're just like, we're just going to
right now we have Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi,
Tennessee,
Texas, Tennessee, Alabama. That's 6 different states.
Right. Now, some of them nearby and some of them are, a little further out. But yeah, still, I mean, it's still in a vicinity of like, what the fuck? Like, we didn't want to like talk about this with other states or like, match something. I don't know. And so we're just like, what the fuck is going on here? But let me keep reading here. So the realization is horrifying. Oh, no shit. Because we've already mentioned that. The killer never stopped. You don't say. That's why if he did stop, then I guess there'd be no story. But for nearly 40 years, he has continued taking children while staying invisible by spreading his crimes across multiple states and jurisdictions, right? So what authorities believed was a 3-year killing spree may actually, oh my God, be one of the largest and longest running serial murder cases in American history. Holy fuck, is all I got to say.
Yeah.
So the man they failed to catch in 1987 didn't disappear. He simply adapted. Holy fuck. I mean, the longest running and the largest. Holy fuck, man. I mean, especially back then.
Yeah.
I mean, goddamn.
I mean, to be doing this in like 1987 and then
before basically forensics, but yeah.
Understanding that now it's 2026, right? It's like, wow.
Well, again, and this was before technically forensics. So that was the other thing is like, so now this guy could do whatever the fuck he wanted and was still doing it. And then now he was like, hey, you know what? I feel like killing another child again. Let me go get him real quick. And then you're like, dumbass. Well, guess what? We already know there's a bunch of cases. But anyways, right? The discovery awakens something inside Jack that has been dormant for years. The burnt out detective who drifted through life at the beginning of the film slowly disappears. He begins staying at the office overnight, sleeping in a chair whenever exhaustion finally catches up to him. His workspace becomes buried beneath maps, photographs, timelines, and stacks of case files. He barely goes home anymore because the hunt has given him something he hasn't felt in a very long time: purpose. Well, that would be a good thing.
A porpoise?
A porpoise?
A dolphin?
Goddamn.
What?
It's actually a longer act than I thought.
This is a pretty long one, yeah.
The tragedy is that the thing making him feel alive again is the same obsession that destroyed his life in the first place. How ironic. Ethan
don't say.
You don't say. Ethan notices the change immediately. Jack becomes more focused, more intense, and more unpredictable with each passing day. He starts chasing leads on his own and disappears without telling anyone where he's going. He ignores orders, skips meetings, and seems completely consumed by the investigation. Ethan slowly begins to realize that Jack isn't simply working a case. He's reliving the most defining event of his entire life. At the same time, the audience begins to see the damage this obsession has caused over the years. One night, Jack drinks himself into oblivion, and his ex-wife is forced to pick him up from a local bar. The ride home isn't filled with screaming or accusations because those emotions burned out long ago. Instead, there is only sadness and disappointment. I can only imagine that conversation.
Probably not much of a conversation.
Probably that too. She tells him that he didn't lose his family because of one terrible decision. He lost them slowly, one missed birthday at a time, one canceled vacation at a time, one promise broken because another lead seemed more important. She reminds him that he spent so many years chasing monsters that he never realized he was becoming a stranger to the people who he loved or loved him. The conversation hits Jack harder than any argument ever could. Yeah, that would be a very, very hard conversation. Later, he tries to reconnect with his daughter. He calls her several times, but she rarely answers. Eventually, he shows up at her house, hoping that seeing her in person will somehow fix the years of distance between them. Instead, he discovers just how much time he's lost. There are family photographs on the wall that don't include him. There are stories and memories he knows nothing about. His daughter isn't angry anymore, and she simply learned how to live without him.
Ouch.
Yikes.
That's like
Yikes.
The fact that you see family photos without you in them, like that I think that would hit even like someone like me. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, if it wouldn't hit you, man, I don't know what to fucking say at this point.
It's like you walk into a person that you think is family. Like, even you could say like, yes, the wife, whatever, but
your own daughter,
someone that he would consider 100% like, you're my daughter. Like, I would trust that you would want to still have me in your life. Like, no, there's photographs on the walls of family that he is not included in. Like, that would have probably destroyed him in this moment.
Oh yeah. I mean, right here, the realization devastates him, right? So for the first time, Jack begins to understand that catching the killer won't magically repair everything he's sacrificed over the years. Even if he solves the case, there are things in his life that can never be put back together. As the investigation continues, the number of potential victims keeps growing. Every new piece of evidence reveals another family that never received answers and another child whose name was slowly forgotten by everyone except the people who loved him. The weight of those discoveries settles heavily on Jack's shoulders because he realizes that this case is even bigger than he imagined. That this isn't the monster's brief reign of terror. This is an entire lifetime of murder. I mean, here's the sad part about this. Before we do some other stuff here, is that it sucks because this is why I'm saying, depending on the job you take, I mean, in Jack's case, I look at him and I go, when is enough? When do you have to divide that line of trying to balance? And this is the hardest part in life. Yes, ready? A good life lesson for all of you. When is the right time to cut your losses? Because the reality is you cannot save everyone. And the issue is in Jack's case, he is so driven by the fact that he's trying to save these families. I'm not saying it's sad. Because it is. It is very sad if you had to do that.
It's pretty fucking traumatic, dude.
Well, I'm just saying at the same time, you're one guy. You cannot take all this burden on yourself.
And I think that's exactly what he's doing.
And that's exactly what he's doing. And the problem is he has to realize that, and I'm glad he now realizes it, but it's way too fucking late, is like, you spent all this time. I'm not saying that it's not important to try to figure out and to save the day and do all this. But you do have a life of your own. Because guess what? The job isn't always going to be there.
And see, this is where I think for him right now, his family is gone. Outside of, I think, being a Louisiana homicide detective,
there's not much else he's got.
I don't think that he really looks at himself as something else.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Even though I think deep down, like, I want to be a good dad, but everybody, at this point, it's like everybody else has apparently moved on without me. And all I have is this. So it's like, why don't I just need to keep jumping into this because this is the only thing that keeps me alive. And honestly, I know that this is the whole part of this is the whole plot of the movie, this 40-year case. But I feel like even if another case where he gets a call and says, hey, we found a murdered prostitute in the swamps, that would be the next obsession. Like, he wouldn't just be like, you know what, I need to just take a break. Well, as soon as he gets that call, it would be like, all right, I'll be there in 10.
Well, here's the other thing. Think about if you're thinking about actual costs for a minute, how many cases do you think that these guys have, and gals, it doesn't matter who, how many cases do you think they have on their plates at most times? I would think anywhere between, I wouldn't say like 100. I would definitely say anywhere from, we'll call it like 15 to 25.
I would say probably somewhere 15, 20, but I'm sure that there are other cases that they just can't work because there's just not any new information.
Well, that and maybe there's not, like you're saying, like it's either they're stale or, maybe they're still actively going and they're still.
Not every detective's case is like Blue Bloods and gets solved every single episode.
No, I never said that. I'm just saying, in this case, like you're thinking of reality. This guy's probably got a shit ton of other cases, but now he's dropping everything. Because of this one fucking case. And I'm like, okay.
And even in this act, you already said like he's basically going rogue. He's like leaving the office, following these rabbit trails, not telling anybody where he's going. And I'm sure they're like trying to get him on the radio or trying to get him on the phone. And it's just like,
right. He's probably staking out, other people's houses because he just said, fuck it. I'm not going to deal with anybody else's shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. But here's the problem with that too, is that what if you're fucked? What if you're in a house alone by yourself? Now what the fuck are you going to do? Or what happens if somebody's like literally about to kill you? Like
he's going to throw his flask at him.
Yeah, you bitch. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know. All right. So Act 3, this is when it becomes personal, like it hasn't already.
Yeah, no shit.
I feel like we've gotten pretty personal already. So the investigation reaches a breaking point on what should have been an ordinary afternoon. I honestly don't think there could be.
There's no such thing as an ordinary.
I don't think there's an ordinary afternoon in this particular instance. But anyways, Jack receives a phone call from his sister, and within seconds he can hear the panic in her voice. Her teenage son never came home. At first, everyone tries to remain calm. Maybe he stayed with a friend. Maybe his phone died. Maybe there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. But as the hours pass and no one hears from him, an unbearable reality begins creeping into the room. Jack knows.
No shit.
Before anyone else says it out loud, he already knows. The look on his face tells the audience everything. 40 years of fear and regret come crashing back into his life in a single moment. For the first time since reopening the case, this isn't about old files, forgotten victims, or chasing a ghost from his past. This is family. This is blood. This is a boy he has known since birth.
So this is where I'm just going to say it. You as a person, right? So like whether, your son or your daughter or whatever, right? Like if that happened to you, man, okay, you cannot tell me that you wouldn't take any of this shit personally.
Oh no, I would 100% take it personally. And
that's the thing. And then, so I understand that's his nephew, but at the same fucking time, you are a cop. So trying to divide that, I mean, there's
Yes.
it's a very fine line, and it's a very hard line to try to do both. But this is where I feel like every time when a cop gets involved, especially when family is involved, it's like, oh, don't worry, all hell's gonna break fucking loose because you ain't getting back. And guess what? We're gonna make sure your shit's real fucked up in the end.
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead.
So the disappearance tears the family apart almost immediately. His sister cycles through every emotion imaginable, from panic to anger to complete despair. She demands answers that Jack just cannot give her. She asks if this is the same man from all those years ago and whether her son is still alive. But Jack obviously doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know, John.
I mean, who would?
He doesn't know. But for perhaps the first time in his career, there are no comforting words or promises he can make. I don't think
anyone
this is
should
the
have
first
that.
time in his career, but
Yeah, right.
at this point, right now, that there's really no comfort that he can provide his own family as far as what might have happened to, his nephew, her son. As search parties begin combing through woods and back roads, Jack finds himself reliving memories he has spent decades trying to bury. He remembers the faces of parents from 1987 sitting beside telephones and praying for good news. He remembers watching families slowly lose hope, 1 hour at a time. For most of his life, he sympathized with those parents as a detective. Now he understands them as something entirely different. He understands them as family, and the realization destroys him. This is the second time that said it in this whole treatment.
Yeah,
of the movie,
family.
That
Family.
that a realization of this has destroyed him.
Yeah, because now it was his daughter the first time. Now it's technically his nephew. So, I mean, you think at this point, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Captain Obvious needs to come out and say, hello, like
Yeah,
this
hello.
is what's happening, but
Here's your sign.
something.
Yeah. So the audience, us as the audience, like, we get to watch every emotional wall that Jack has spent years trying to build basically crumble. He can barely sleep. He barely is eating. Every missed phone call sends his heart racing. Every new lead feels like the difference between life and death. The investigation is no longer about justice or closure. It has become a desperate race against time.
Well, no offense. Maybe it's too soon, but it's 40 years too late. He's like,
Oh,
oh,
man.
shit.
Well,
Well, you're not far off.
so Ethan tries to keep Jack grounded, but it quickly becomes clear that Jack is slipping into a dangerous territory.
No.
He stops caring about procedure, ignores direct orders from his superiors. He disappears for hours at a time, chasing leads that may amount to nothing. We've seen this a little bit earlier, but I feel like this is like him just like maybe just leaving and coming back. Like I feel like this is like
This is intensifying. This is
hours, maybe days doing this. Like,
But no, but I the difference is like in the beginning it wasn't like as intense. This is like
yeah, this
ramping
is
up.
yeah. So he also begins interrogating suspects with a level of intensity that borders on obsession. The line between detective and desperate uncle slowly start to disappear.
Mm,
You don't say.
there's your say.
The deeper they dig, the more horrifying the truth becomes. Evidence begins pointing towards a victim count far greater than anyone believed. The number may not be in the dozens, it may be significantly higher. Entire families across multiple states spent decades waiting for answers that never came. The scope of the investigation becomes almost impossible to comprehend. Then they finally catch a break. A witness places an older man near one of the abduction sites. A vehicle description matching evidence from another state, financial records, travel histories begin connecting pieces that had been scattered for decades, and slowly the walls start closing in around a single suspect.
About fucking time.
So the discovery is almost disappointing in its simplicity. The man isn't a criminal mastermind. He isn't wealthy or powerful. He doesn't live in some elaborate compound, and he isn't hiding behind some false identity. He's ordinary, painfully ordinary.
Matt, what does painfully ordinary mean to you? Like painfully.
I think for Jack, it's painful because understanding that it's not like some rich guy or it's not some person of
Yeah, a power that's corrupted. and so
power,
forth.
whatever. It's just a guy that you would see going to church or going to the grocery store. It's just a person. It's a person. And this individual, he lives alone, keeps to himself, and blends so completely into everyday life that no one would ever give him a second look. He looks like the kind of man people pass in a grocery store without remembering his face 5 minutes later. And somehow that makes it even more terrifying. And I think that really does. Like when you can, sometimes Danielle and I will joke, or, the kid and I will joke, like when we're walking around Walmart and we'll like see someone like weird and be like, that dude right there is a pedophile. Like that woman right there, she's a fucking serial killer.
That whatever thing is over there, that person's a freak. But no, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But I think it does make it like more terrifying to know, like, you're hunting this guy who is murdering children, abducting children. Honestly, like your first thought is like, this dude has to be like the pinnacle of evil, the pinnacle of like what a monster looks like. And for a dude that looks like he goes to church and has an accountant, you know what I mean? Like it's not someone that you would be like, really?
Well, Matt, ready? The age old question that you and I have always, talked about with people. What is an addict? Or who's an addict? Like, because there is no status. I mean, I know it's a little different than this, but like in the same way, you're like, you would think it was like this person, but now you're like, oh, so it's literally some other random dude that just does his own thing and whatever. And you're like, okay, well, shit. This guy can blend in anywhere and it doesn't matter where. And he's just like, hi, my name's Tom. And you're like,
my name's Jeff.
Well, fuck you, Jeff.
So Jack realizes that for 40 years, evil wasn't hiding in the shadows. It wasn't lurking in abandoned buildings or secret organizations. It was living among everyone else, wearing an ordinary face, pretending to be just another man. As investigators continue building their case, another piece of evidence surfaces that changes everything. The suspect owns an isolated property deep in rural Louisiana. Far removed from towns and highways, the location is large enough to disappear into and remote enough that screams would never be heard. Jack stares at the address for a long time and then looks at a photograph of his missing nephew. And for the first time in the film, he allows himself to believe that the boy may still be alive. And for the first time in decades, hope becomes more terrifying than fear.
Wow. I mean, even just reading this, I mean, I know it's not like the actual like script and everything else, but goddamn, like I don't even know what to say right now. I mean, I can only imagine what Jack is probably running through his mind right now, and especially when he was, like you just said there, like he's looking at his missing nephew as a photograph, looking at the address, looking at this guy, and like in my mind, I don't know, like I feel like in his mind, he's probably going, I'm ready to leave in 5 fucking seconds, and I'm gonna take this motherfucker.
I can almost like picture the scene like in my head of him sitting at his desk, right? In his hand, he's holding the photograph of his nephew,
right?
But underneath, on the desk itself, are probably scattered photographs of murdered children, right? Like missing, various missing posters that maybe he pulled off of a telephone pole, but like. You have to like just close your eyes for a minute and imagine this guy, this detective sitting at this desk. He's holding just a photograph of the nephew, but behind him is just death and despair.
I mean,
it's like the one shiny spot in the rest of all of the darkness that's on the desk. And we're seeing him for the first time. Like maybe the hope is what is ultimately going to end up breaking him.
Well, so this is a great question right here. Ready? At this point, do we even care if Jack follows the law anymore? Do we, the audience, care if Jack literally says, you know what? Fuck every rule on the planet. I'm getting this motherfucker.
I mean, there's
hell through eye water or whatever.
There are a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of good questions in here. Like. Do you even think Jack is capable of being objective? Like, is he able to separate?
I'm going to say this right now. Absolutely not.
Is he able to separate how, his emotions and how he's feeling versus what is legally the correct way to handle the
Matt,
case.
I'm going to tell you right now, absolutely fucking not. You can't tell me otherwise because
And I want to be clear that we, at this point, even though like we are probably a little bit past 3/4 of this movie,
Oh yes, no, but right now, no,
we still do not know who this killer is.
no, it's true. I'm just saying to answer your question. Like I said, he is not. He will not be objective.
I think it'll be very, very tough for him to be
Anything
objective
because
where
again,
he's going to actually follow the law.
well, that's my point. So like, he's not going to be objective. He probably will not be following any rules or procedures or any of that shit. I mean, the fact that it is terrifying that this guy is completely painfully ordinary, like when you had to use that word, painfully ordinary. I mean, it's scary to think that, the guy, like you said, whether you go to church with, or maybe maybe it's a running club or whatever. Like, think of all the random shit that you might do, whatever.
I was just playing Pal World with him.
God damn it. Son of a bitch. Now I want to kill you.
I do like this question too. Does the movie feel more tragic because Jack finally understands what the parents felt?
I would say yes and no. And a reason why I say this is because for Jack's sake, I mean, come on, man. I know that because it didn't happen to you. That's the problem. And I think the issue is and this is a word that you and I will probably always say and we always use is empathy. This man, when it comes to empathy, does not understand that piece. And he finally did now because now it happened.
He finally did, but I think as him being a detective and being a cop, all of these children that went missing and were never found, or maybe they found the bodies and they found remains, like as a cop, that would take its toll.
Well, so
where parents wouldn't understand that toll that it takes on a cop.
So think about the jobs that we do, right? We don't necessarily have to be, I know, yeah, I was doing heroin for the last 13 years. You know what? You're right. You know what? I'm never going to know what that feels like.
Well, that's why I work in medical records now.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just saying, when you're talking about it like this, I mean, the issue is that cops, unless it actually like the purpose of whatever they do, like whether it's like, I'm trying to think like, was it Vice and like the different departments that, all these guys have, I think for them, they have to have some motivator to want to do certain, departments of the, the actual law enforcement, in there. But like for his sake, if he's just a regular old detective and he's maybe doing homicide or he's, maybe he dabbles.
I mean, I said he was a homicide detective.
No,
so.
Right. But I'm just saying but now he's going into missing people. You know what I mean? Like, so
well, I mean,
I
think it's a mixed case because there are murder. I mean, what initially brought him into the case was
that dead guy. Yes.
No, it was the murder child. It was a child that was murdered.
Oh, well, I thought it was the man. I thought we were talking about the man in the beginning.
The man was the very first case.
Well,
it wasn't connected to.
Yes, yes, correct.
When he catches wind of this case of a murdered child that was murdered in that same way.
Yes, okay, then
that's what sets him off. So yes, there are It's not just like missing children. It's
I understand now. I get all that, but I'm just saying for his sake.
I think it's just a personal. Now he actually knows somebody who is missing and could be potentially a victim of this guy.
I mean,
and so now I think that is what is affecting him slightly different.
I will say this. Yes, it does make it more tragic because of the fact that yes, now it is affecting him. But the problem is like we've been saying, is that as cops, because you do see this all the time. It's because you're
like a desensitization.
Well, that's the thing, and they have to kind of put this in a box somewhere, and then
But that's why we're saying this whole thing. Like he's not capable right now of being objective. So I mean, his nephew being potentially another victim,
right?
Just it's adding like kerosene to a campfire, right? It's like, hey, let's pour some more gasoline on this fire. This is what's happening. I mean,
I know, yeah, but you know what? Let's get into the last act here,
final act,
and of course the end of said hunt. So the evidence leads investigators to an isolated property hidden deep within rural Louisiana. The land sits far away from the nearest town and is surrounded by thick woods and swampland. No kidding, because I feel like that would be the perfect area for this whole entire movie.
I think that's where Texas Chainsaw Man.
He's like, actually, if you take this movie, no.
Yeah.
And so the kind of place where nobody would hear screams.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And
Texas Chainsaw.
Right, and nobody would ask questions because there you go. Because they're like, oh, must be alligators around here.
Those fucking alligators, you know what I mean?
Goddamn alligators. As the task force prepares to move in, Jack can barely contain himself. Every instinct he has is screaming that his nephew is somewhere on this property, and that every second they spend plating feels like another second the boy might not survive. Ignoring protocol, refusing to wait any longer, Jack goes in alone. Well, Jack, you're a fucking moron.
Well, here's your sign.
Here's your sign. But yes, the property is eerily quiet. There are no barking dogs, no television playing in the distance, no signs of life outside, and the old house sitting in the middle of the clearing. Oh, wait, there's a clearing? What happened to the fucking swamp? I don't know. Anyways, every step Jack takes feels heavy because he knows that whatever's waiting inside could either destroy him completely or give him the one thing he's been chasing for 40 years, man. No. Hope. Ready? Hope.
Hope.
Inside the house, he discovers evidence that confirms his worst fears. Children's belongings. Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Children's belongings are scattered throughout several rooms. Not just one, several. Old photographs, clothing, toys, and personal items belonging to victims that from different decades, my God, have been, carefully preserved. My God, dude. Anyways.
It's like a murder museum.
Shit. It's like, here's my whole life story. Jeez. The house feels less like a home and more like, like a museum dedicated to suffering. That's great. Every room serves as a reminder of the lives that were stolen and the families that spent years waiting for answers. Then Jack hears something. I wonder what that be. A weak sound, almost a whisper. Following it deeper into the house, and he discovers a locked room and forces the door open. Inside is a child, terrified, restrained, drugged, but alive. Interesting. For a moment, Jack simply stands there, unable to process what he is seeing. After 40 years of arriving... I said this earlier, Matt. After 40 years of arriving too late, right there, too late, after decades of finding bodies and delivering terrible news to grieving families, he has finally reached someone in time. He quickly frees the child and tries to reassure them that they are safe. But his hands are shaking so bad that he can barely unlock the restraints. Oh, boy. Then he sees the face. It isn't his nephew. The realization,
shit.
Well, God damn it. The realization is devastating and reliving at the same time. Another child has been saved, but the question that has haunted him for days still remains unanswered. Where is his nephew? As Jack escorts the child towards safety, he finally comes face to face with a man he spent most of his adult life hunting. The killer looks completely ordinary. Older than Jack expected, smaller than Jack imagined. Oh, boy. There was nothing intimidating or monstrous about him that somehow makes the moment even worse. Oh, my God. This unremarkable man is responsible for 40 years of pain, fear, and loss. This is the face that destroyed families, ruined lives, consumed every waking moment of Jack's career. Standing before him, Jack realizes that he spent decades imagining this encounter, but none of those fantasies prepared him for the reality of it. The suspect is arrested and handcuffed without much resistance. The hunt is finally over. Yet instead of relief, Jack feels something else entirely. Anger and rage. A lifetime of grief and guilt crashes into him all at once. He thinks about every missing poster, every mother who cried in his arms, every father who spent years wondering what happened to their child. He thinks about his failed marriage, his broken relationship with his daughter, and all the moments he sacrificed in pursuit of this one man. And then he thinks about his nephew. The audience never fully sees what happens next. Before I go any further, the audience never fully sees what happens next. I feel like this is the bad way to segue, but okay. But anyways, yes, what follows is fragmented and uncertain, almost like memories that cannot be trusted. Raised voices echo throughout the house. There's an argument. The killer says something that is visibly shakes Jack. A gun is drawn. Then a single gunshot breaks the silence. By the time backup arrives, the suspect is dead. Jack, oh boy, is standing alone by the body. Alongside the body. Official reports eventually rule the shooting justified. Oh, lovely. The suspect was considered one of the most dangerous serial killers in the country's history, and there's enough uncertainty surrounding the following moments that no one can say with complete confidence what actually happened inside that house. No shit. Some believe Jack acted in self-defense. Others quietly suspect that he finally gave in to the rage and he had carried for 40 years. The truth remains with Jack. Weeks later, the investigation is over. Families across multiple states will finally receive answers. Victims are identified, remains are returned, and long-forgotten cases are finally closed. News outlets call it one of the most significant criminal investigations in modern history. Well, shit, Jack. Just for you. But for Jack, none of it feels like a victory. His nephew's body is eventually recovered on the property. The boy had been dead. Oh, boy. The boy had been dead before Jack ever arrived. Fuck.
Well,
That's
shit.
all I gotta say. The discovery destroys whatever remained of him. The one person he desperately wanted to save was the one person he could not reach in time. The film. Oh boy, this is gonna be bad. The film's final scenes are quiet and painfully intimate. Jack returns to his empty house, sits alone in the darkness with a bottle of whiskey and his service weapon resting nearby. For the first time in 4 decades, there are no files to read, no suspects to chase, and no mysteries left to solve. The obsession is defined that, I can't even speak. I'm sorry. The obsession that defined his entire life is over. There we go. Brief flashes from the confrontation drift throughout his mind. The killer's face, the gun, the sound of the shot, then nothing. Jack slowly picks up the weapon and stares into the darkness. His phone suddenly lights up. A new case, another body, another family about to begin the worst day of their lives. The glow from the screen illuminates his face as he sits perfectly still. The audience never sees whether he answers the phone. The audience never sees whether he lowers the gun. The screen simply fades to black, leaving one question hanging over everything that came before. After spending 40 years hunting monsters, can Jack Lawton survive without one? The end.
Well, shit.
Well, shit.
That doesn't
Jack.
feel like an ending at all.
That just feels like it's a continuation, and it's just like, and actually, you know what happens? It's that same phone call that he gets in the beginning. Oh, it's like Groundhog Day all over again.
I do feel like he answers. Part of me just feels like he answers the phone.
I feel like part of me just it actually just it's Groundhog Day.
I think he. I mean, the one of the questions here is: did the final phone call save his life or condemn him to another obsession? And I think it condemns him to just another. I think he's just in that loop. I mean, like I said before, like he's going. I mean, sure, like this 40-year obsession might be gone, but he is still a Louisiana homicide detective. So if there is something that needs to be solved, I feel like if you give it to him,
they go and do it.
He's going to just dive in with his whole body and not just with his brain, but he's going to, like, his whole entire life is going to go into whatever this new case is. And it's going to just be the next obsession, whether it's just a one-off, like, body or whether there's more to it. But I feel like that's what Jack just does. He goes from one case to another, to another, to another. And at this point, he probably has this understanding that his family just wants nothing to do with him. They've already moved on, so this is what I have. This is what I can do. At least my superiors, even though they don't agree with what I'm doing, at least they're still giving me these cases to work.
No, I agree.
Even though reality is the opposite, where if he just was like, you know what, like I need to reestablish the connection with my daughter and try to like reestablish some kind of resemblance of a family that I might or may not ever have. But instead of doing that, he's like, oh, case, cool. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's just go ahead and do it. You know, it's great. You know, now I think, I mean, I'll admit it. I mean, that was a pretty like, well, shit. I mean, I'll say it when I just read that whole thing about seeing his nephew, I'm like, well, fuck. It was no offense that's why right at the end there when he was like, so he has a service weapon and he has a bottle of whiskey.
As soon as you understood that the service weapon was right next to him and
like,
he had the
come
bottle of whiskey and you're like,
fuck.
oh boy.
And I'm like,
oh boy.
And then of course, ring, 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 ring. Oh, so that's the one thing that saved him because guess what? If he just said fuck it, and then what if here's the thing, what if all we heard was a gunshot? And then the end of the movie just happened. And then you go, what?
But I think that's why you leave it ambiguous. Like you don't show him answering the phone. you don't show him, you don't hear like the gunshot going off, and I think that that's what I mean. It's honestly like a pretty good ending, like because it does leave a lot of questions of like, so what, like,
So what do we do now?
I, I mean, knowing that we've just gone through 4 acts, and we do have to kind of wrap it up here, but knowing that we just went through 4 acts of this movie, we told you what the plot was. We've broken down this whole entire movie
Pretty much.
from beginning to end. This is a movie I would watch the shit out of.
Oh, I know you would, especially because.
Well, I like serial killers, but
No, I was also going to say because we're going to tell you about it next week, but the main actor, oh yeah, that's like, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is the guy.
as soon as you understand who the lead actor is going to be, it's like,
Yeah, like yep. This sounds
Okay.
good. Yep, keep it going.
But I like the darkness. I like the grittiness of it. Like I like the grind, and like what I think would set this movie apart is if you really show the investigation process.
Oh, I agree.
If you just show him like just going downward and that's all you're really just seeing, like you lose some of that. But I think if you see him going down these rabbit holes, and the rabbit holes are interesting and they bring you to a much darker and grittier place, I think like this is that movie. Like it's dark. It's
Well, when you
not happy.
when you can look at him reading through the files and like literally like trying to put the pieces together, like and then taking like a cork and going like, oh yeah, okay, yep, okay, and then he's like putting the pieces together.
But then you see the comparison to his partner, who's probably like a younger, not quite like a rookie detective, but somebody who's maybe been,
he's been around, but not
like
around
5 or
enough.
10 years, maybe 15 at the most, but like somebody who is still kind of like a veteran, but not as seasoned as him,
Right.
who does things by the book and is like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like,
Kind of shit, bro. Like,
you're putting strings together that like don't even go, even though for Jack it's like no, this goes here and then that connects there and then this one, his brain is just going a mile a minute, where I think his partner Ethan is like, I don't know how these things are connected because you're not talking to anybody, bro.
hey, wait, hold on, Matt. This describes you a little bit. No, he's like, no, I fucking explained it to you, bro. I'm just like, no, but that's kind of how your brain works.
No, I explained it, you just weren't fucking listening.
Oh, he's like, fuck you, bitch. I fucking explained this whole goddamn thing in a fucking PowerPoint, and I just spent an hour and a half on it. I'm like, maybe if you just fucking dumbed it down to me.
If you
instead of
just
doing
read
that.
the freaking bar graph, you would have understood.
And I'm like, well, fuck the bar graph. I want to hear it from you, you fuckhead. No, joking. Anyways, no, I know we've been talking about this, but I will admit, man, I know you were saying you would watch the shit out of this movie. I would too. You know what? I would actually go see it with you in theaters. I mean, I know I'm not a big, I mean, I guess horror is different. I mean,
I mean, this isn't really horror. Right?
Well, no, it's more like
definitely
a-
like heavy crime
well, that's,
thriller.
I like I said, I would watch this with you. I think I would,
This
definitely watch-
movie, and we're gonna talk about directors in the next episode because we're doing a part 2 to our AI versus Hollywood, where part 1 is really just us breaking down the movie and what it's about. But part 2 is we're talking about production and how it would get made and what would make this a good movie.
Right, and that's kind of the beauty of these series that we do is
Yeah.
because, we can't, if we talked about every little bit of this, oh my God, it would be like a 3-hour fucking
Yeah.
podcast.
I mean, we're already at an hour and a half, but
yeah, whatever.
what I think this movie could sit right next to 7, like in the way that 7 was done. Like this movie would fit right next to it.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, we'll talk about it next week for sure.
It
but-
would make much more sense once you know the director.
Okay, well then that's why I said next week we'll be talking about that for sure. But until next time, boys and girls,